Imagine this. The President of the United States sleeps in a castle. Not just any castle, Windsor Castle, the king's personal residence. He wakes up in rooms where monarchs have slept for centuries, attends a state banquet dripping with gold and diamonds, then walks out and publicly humiliates the British Prime Minister on his own soil, in front of the world's cameras, without hesitation. This isn't fiction. This happened just weeks ago, September 17th, 2025. And what unfolded during those 72 hours reveals everything you need to know about power, desperation, and the brutal reality of international politics. Because while King Charles rolled out the red carpet, Donald Trump was calculating exactly how to expose Keir Starmer's weakness to the entire world. And by the time he left, Britain's Prime Minister had been publicly contradicted, diplomatically undermined, and left looking like a man with no authority whatsoever. Stay until the end, because the full story is even more shocking than the headlines suggest. The unprecedented invitation. Let's start with something that's never happened before in modern history. Donald Trump became the first U.S. president to receive a state visit invitation twice, granted an unprecedented second state visit by King Charles III. Think about that. Queen Elizabeth II hosted 5 different U.S. presidents during her 70-year reign. Each got one state visit. One. Barack Obama, George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, Ronald Reagan, Jimmy Carter, all of them were granted the highest diplomatic honor exactly once. But Trump? He got 2. His first was in 2019 during Queen Elizabeth's reign. Now, just 6 years later, King Charles personally invited him back. Why? Because Britain is desperate. Prime Minister Keir Starmer personally delivered the invitation, describing it as a really special diplomatic gesture. But here's what the diplomatic language doesn't tell you. This was Starmer begging. Britain needs American trade deals, defense cooperation, and economic support. With Brexit destroying European relationships and the UK economy struggling, Starmer had no choice but to roll out the most extravagant welcome possible, hoping Trump would remember it when negotiating trade terms. The problem? Trump doesn't do favors. He does transactions. And he was about to extract maximum value from Britain's weakness. September 17th, 2025. Trump was greeted by King Charles III and senior royals at Windsor Castle for his unprecedented second state visit. But this wasn't just a greeting. This was theater designed to flatter American power and remind Britain of its diminished status. Trump and King Charles attended a state banquet at Windsor Castle, with Queen Camilla, First Lady Melania Trump, and senior royals in attendance. The setting? St. George's Hall, one of the most magnificent rooms in Britain. Medieval grandeur, priceless artwork, gold everywhere. Place settings worth more than most people earn in a year. Trump soaked it all in. For a man obsessed with status and power, sleeping in Windsor Castle, being served by royal staff, dining with a king, this was validation of everything he believes about himself. He wasn't just a president. He was being treated like royalty. But here's what nobody wants to acknowledge. While Trump enjoyed the luxury, Starmer was waiting in the wings, desperate for his turn to speak with the American president. The optics were devastating. The king hosting Trump in splendor, while the prime minister waited for permission to meet. Catherine, Princess of Wales, and Prince William attended the state banquet, marking a significant royal presence. Every senior royal was there. The message to Trump was clear. You matter more than almost anyone else on earth. The message to the world was equally clear. Britain needs America far more than America needs Britain. And Trump? He understood exactly what was happening. He was being given leverage, wrapped in gold, and served with champagne. The public humiliation. After his luxurious stay at Windsor Castle, Trump met with Prime Minister Keir Starmer at his country residence, Chequers. This is where everything went wrong for Starmer. The meeting itself was fine. Diplomatic smiles, handshakes, photo opportunities. They even signed agreements on AI and nuclear cooperation. On the surface, a successful diplomatic exchange.
Then came the press conference, and Trump did what Trump does best. He told the truth as he saw it, consequences be damned. Trump said he had a few disagreements with the Prime Minister, specifically on Israel-Gaza policy and Starmer's plan to recognize a Palestinian state. But it wasn't what he said. It was how he said it. Standing right next to Starmer in front of international media, Trump publicly contradicted Britain's foreign policy position. Quote, "I have a disagreement with the Prime Minister on that score, one of our few disagreements," Trump declared at the press conference at Chequers. Read that again. One of our few disagreements. The implication? There are others. Trump was signaling that he and Starmer aren't aligned on multiple issues, and he wasn't afraid to say so publicly. Trump disagreed with Starmer's decision to recognize the Palestinian state, saying he opposed the plan to do so unless Israel commits to peace in Gaza. This wasn't a minor policy difference. This was fundamental disagreement on Middle East strategy, announced to the world while standing beside the British Prime Minister. The humiliation was total. Starmer had just hosted Trump with unprecedented royal spectacle, given him everything Britain could offer, and Trump's response was to publicly undermine his foreign policy position. Starmer tried to smooth it over, saying, "We absolutely agree on the need for peace and a roadmap because the situation in Gaza is intolerable." But the damage was done. Trump had exposed the fundamental weakness in Starmer's position. He needed Trump's support far more than Trump needed his.
But here's what most news coverage completely missed. This wasn't about Israel-Gaza policy at all. This was about power dynamics. Trump understood something crucial. Starmer is the most unpopular prime minister in British history. His government is collapsing. His approval ratings are catastrophic. He's clinging to office through parliamentary majority alone, with no public mandate whatsoever. And Trump exploited that weakness perfectly. By publicly disagreeing with Starmer on foreign policy, Trump sent multiple messages simultaneously. Your prime minister is so weak, I can contradict him on his own soil, and there's nothing he can do about it. Don't treat Britain as a major power anymore. They're desperate for American approval. Look at how other countries treat me with respect and honor, while their own leaders look weak beside me. You need me far more than I need you. Remember that when we negotiate trade deals. The brilliance of Trump's strategy was that he did it all while accepting British hospitality. He slept in Windsor Castle, enjoyed the royal banquet, signed cooperation agreements, then publicly humiliated his host. And there was absolutely nothing Starmer could do about it. Complain? That would make him look even weaker, unable to handle criticism. Defend his position? That would turn it into a prolonged public disagreement, giving Trump more opportunities to undermine him. Stay silent? That would make him look defeated. Trump had created a perfect trap, and Starmer walked right into it. The British media tried to spin it as successful diplomatic visit and productive meetings, but social media told a different story. Clips of Trump contradicting Starmer went viral. Commentators across the political spectrum noted the power imbalance. Conservative MPs mocked Starmer for being put in his place by Trump. Reform UK used it as evidence that Britain had become a laughingstock under Labour leadership. Even Labour supporters privately admitted the optics were terrible. Their prime minister had thrown Britain's most extravagant diplomatic welcome at Trump, and Trump's response was to publicly disagree with him in front of the world. The international implications were equally devastating. European leaders watched and concluded that Britain had no independent foreign policy anymore. Middle Eastern nations saw a prime minister who couldn't even get American support for his own stated positions. Britain's attempt to maintain relevance on the world stage had backfired spectacularly. And through it all, King Charles remained silent. He'd done his constitutional duty, hosted Trump with full royal splendor, then stepped back and let the politicians destroy each other. The monarchy had survived by staying above the chaos. The government had not. So here's what those 72 hours really revealed. Britain is no longer a major power. It's a nation so desperate for American approval that it will give a foreign president unprecedented honors, host him in royal palaces, and endure public humiliation just to maintain the special relationship. Trump understood this perfectly. He accepted everything Britain offered, enjoyed the luxury and pageantry, then showed the world exactly how weak Starmer's position really is. And he did it all with a smile, making it look effortless.
Starmer gambled that flattering Trump would buy British influence. Instead, it bought Trump a stage to demonstrate American dominance. The state visit that was supposed to strengthen Britain's position actually exposed how diminished that position has become. And the worst part? Starmer had no choice. Britain needs American trade deals, defense cooperation, and economic support so badly that enduring public humiliation is worth it. That's how far Britain has fallen. Windsor Castle, gold and diamonds, royal banquets, medieval splendor, and at the end of it all, a British Prime Minister publicly contradicted by a foreign president on his own soil. This is Britain in 2025, magnificent symbolism covering up brutal reality, a nation that can still stage royal spectacles but can't command respect from the leaders it hosts. A prime minister so weak, he can be humiliated publicly and have no response. Trump's 72 hours in Britain weren't about diplomacy. They were about dominance. And by the time he left, everyone watching understood exactly who held the power in this relationship. Not the king with his castle, not the prime minister with his office. The American president who could take everything Britain offered, then publicly dismiss its leader's position without consequence. What do you think? Did Starmer handle Trump correctly, or did he look weak on the world stage? Was the royal spectacle worth the diplomatic humiliation? Drop your thoughts below, because this story reveals more about modern Britain than any official statement ever will. If this video exposed what really happened behind the royal pageantry, share it everywhere. The mainstream media won't tell you how badly this went for Starmer. But here, you've seen the full truth. A desperate prime minister, a calculating president, and 72 hours that showed the world exactly where Britain stands in the global power hierarchy.